In any American city, there is a set of church steps that looks exactly the same. Sunday morning, service lets out, people walk down into the daylight. At the bottom, the same man sits in the same spot he has occupied for 3 years. Someone from the congregation hands him a $5 bill. A woman watching says, "That is devotion." A man next to her says, "That is why he is still sitting there, that is hypocrisy." One side calls them devoted, the other calls them hypocrites. This is the fight everyone has been having for decades. But this is not a question about whether Christians are devoted or hypocrites. That fight was framed wrong from the start. Here is the real question: love your neighbor as yourself. That sentence has a price. The question is who pays it. Today we open 2 doors, both are called love, but the person who pays the cost behind each door is completely different, and the one who pays might not be the person you think. There is a woman in Houston, we will call her Mrs. Patterson. Every Sunday after service, she puts $5 bills into envelopes and hands them to the people sitting along the sidewalk outside her church. 17 years, same routine. She does not ask their names, she does not ask what they will spend it on. She once told a friend, when Jesus fed people, he did not ask for their ID first. This is the logic that lives inside her. She does not know their story. She has no right to judge whether they deserve $5. Judgment belongs to God. Her only job is to love. In Brooklyn, an Episcopal parish opens its hall every Saturday at 4. 120 hot meals go out, no identification, no proof of income, no address required. The moment you ask a question before you give, it stops being generosity and becomes an interview. This is not a fringe position. Faith-based organizations provide between 60 and 75% of all emergency shelter beds in the United States. Nearly half of all congregations run or support a food program. Before the government built a welfare system, churches were already on the street. That is theology put into action for generations. The scripture holds together. Luke 6:30 says, "Give to everyone who asks." Matthew 25 says, "Whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me." The text does not say give to the deserving, it says give. Here is what it sounds like from inside. If I do not hand him this $5 tonight, he has nothing. What he does with it tomorrow is outside my hands. The only decision in front of me is whether I open my wallet or close it. And the moment a church starts calculating who deserves what, it stops being a church, it becomes just another nonprofit. For Mrs. Patterson, that is not an argument, it is a fear that love with conditions is no longer love at all. But this love has a price, and the person who pays it is the one being loved. In LA, San Francisco, and New York, there is something outreach workers call a handout trail. An informal map passed by word of mouth that tells you which church gives what and when. Monday at 11, sandwiches. Wednesday at noon, a hot plate. Friday evening, soup. Sunday, cash from 3 congregations within 6 blocks. Follow this map and you eat every day without ever entering a building where someone writes down your name. Life on the street becomes sustainable, not good. Sustainable. A person who might have sought help after 3 months instead finds a rhythm that holds him in place for 5 years, 10 years. Here is arithmetic no one says from a pulpit. A person in front of a generous church collects $15 to $25 on a Sunday. A single fentanyl pill in cities like Phoenix or San Francisco now costs between $1 and $5. In parts of Washington state, below $1. Shelter workers have said it quietly for years. The kinder the church, the weaker the motivation to leave. There is another cost. The children walking to Sunday school pass that sidewalk every week. The elderly woman with a cane steps between bodies to reach the door. More people gather where cash flows reliably. This scene repeats 52 weeks a year. And the giver, research shows the feeling of "I am a good person" after giving cash lasts roughly 40 minutes to 2 hours. Repeat it every Sunday and something shifts. Year 1, I hope his life changes. Year 5, I need to feel like I practice my faith today. The man has not moved. The giver does not mind. Their reward arrives on schedule. So here is who pays. The man on the steps, held in place by love that never asks him to move. The children and elderly walking through a scene no one chose for them. The giver pays nothing. The giver receives. A Presbyterian church in Denver made a decision in 2018. Stop handing out cash, print cards instead, they called them care cards. No money on the card, just an address. Bring it to Denver Rescue Mission or St. Francis Center. Walk in and you get a shower, a meal, and a conversation with someone whose job is to help you figure out what comes next. Over the following years, some who brought those cards had their names written down for the first time. They were assigned someone who followed up every week. Some got an address that was not a sidewalk. The logic inside this decision: real love wants the other person to change. If your $5 keeps someone alive tonight but pushes them deeper into the same cycle tomorrow, that is not love, that is a painkiller for your conscience. Proverbs 27 verse 6, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Sometimes love stings. American Christianity calls it tough love. It has been there for generations. A pastor in Phoenix put it this way from the pulpit: what we have done for 17 years may not have been God's love, it may have been our aspirin. Starting today, we love differently. From inside, it sounds like this: I want to know his name. Handing money to someone whose name I never learned is not love, it is a transaction. Calling him by name and saying I believe you can live differently is larger than any $5. The data supports the instinct. Union Rescue Mission, Bowery Mission, Denver Rescue Mission all learned the same thing on the ground. A meal alone brings someone back to the same spot. A meal plus a name, a follow-up, a structure brings a smaller number of people somewhere different. Housing First research confirms it. Stable housing with ongoing support produces stronger one-year outcomes than cash or meals alone. That is door B, not cold, not calculation. A confidence that says a person is not their sidewalk, and love should act like it believes that. But conditional love also has a price, and the person who pays is the one we said we most wanted to save. Every program that requires a step before giving help has a filter built into its design. To use a care card, walk to the address. To enter a program, show up on time. To get a caseworker, sit and fill out a form. For most people, these steps are nothing. For a person with untreated schizophrenia, they are a wall. For someone in late-stage fentanyl addiction, 6 blocks is a continent. For someone with severe brain damage from years on the street, an intake form is written in a language they no longer speak. Programs that need results to keep funding take the people most likely to succeed. Social services call it creaming. Skim the cream, show the numbers, keep the grants. The rest fall out quietly. When the church says go to the specialist says we lack capacity. The city says it is the state's problem. The state says it is federal. The person in the middle of that circle hears doors closing one after the other, each more polite than the last. In Los Angeles County, 2,508 people experiencing homelessness died in 2023, the highest number ever recorded. In 2024, it dropped to 2,208, still more than 6 people a day. The ones dying are not the ones who could walk to a program, they are the ones the program was never shaped to reach. A church member in Denver described it this way: someone asks for $1, I hand them a card. They say, I do not want this, just $1. I say, this is our policy. I walk to my car and the whole way home I wonder if what I did was love or efficiency wearing a cross. So here is who pays. The person with the severest illness and deepest addiction pays first. They vanish from the church's sight, then from everyone's sight, and the believer pays second, not in dollars, in a question that never resolves. Am I loving or am I organizing? That is the cost of door B. It falls on completely different people than door A. That is why this is a trade-off. The cost does not disappear, it only moves. Warm love holds him on the same steps for another year. Conditional love pushes the sickest person out of sight. Door A, and the man loses his chance to become someone else. Door B, and the most broken person loses his way to the door. There is no middle. Split the difference and you pay both prices. The man stays and the sickest still vanishes. It doubles. Both, a little of each, is not a door. It is a sentence in a church bulletin. It does not exist on the steps where that man is sitting. Next Sunday, your wallet is in your hand. 2 doors, only one opens at a time. Will you hand him the $5 knowing he sits there again next year? Or hand him a card and walk to your car, knowing the one who cannot read it just lost his last point of human contact. Your love has a price, who pays it?